So there's a pet squirrel. And the pet squirrel, so anybody new here, one of my offspring found a squirrel on the road, a baby squirrel on the road. Like, it was probably only a couple of weeks old, didn't even have all its fur or anything. So she, with the help of the rest of the family, raised this squirrel and got to the point where she set him free, right? A whole bunch of stories in between there and then, but set him free. And so she set him free here. So he joined the rest of the squirrel community. We were so afraid that he would be ostracized from the squirrel community, but he seemed to do okay. So he comes to the house almost every day, and we feed him some nuts. He has a whole nother squirrel community now, so the other squirrels come along, and the other squirrels have now figured out. So we have this thing, because he did attack before. That's another story. I'll tell that story again another time. But he's a very sweet squirrel, but he is a wild animal, so sometimes I get upset. But he's been good. He had since then, really. So so I have this whole thing. So I don't risk it anymore, because they get excited, and I think they're a little aggressive because of the weather change. I don't know. So I have this thing. He comes to the door. He comes to the back door every day, and he comes and jumps on the screen, and he's like splayed up against the screen. He's always like this, sideways, and that's his way of telling us that he's hungry. And sometimes I'll throw nuts out into the yard, but I want to feed this one in particular, because he's like the pet. So I have this whole thing now where he comes to the door, I take a nut, I show it to him. Now he's on the other side of the screen, right? I show it to him, and I go like this, so that his head goes this way. And so I distract him so his head goes this way, and then I quickly open the door and put a nut out on the ledge, so that he's facing the other way and he can't get to my hand fast enough. Because it's not like he would try to hurt me, but if he's trying to get to the nut, he would hurt me accidentally. So that's the whole thing. So we have this whole little kind of dance going on with how I feed him, and he knows that. And when he's finished his nut, he comes back, gets back on the door, and we do that a number of times. Well, his squirrel friends have figured out that this is where the squirrels realize that the food comes from the door, right? He's just a squirrel trying to get a nut. That's what I'm saying. So this squirrel, and we know it's him, and we see him growing up. He's not as big as the other squirrels, but he is getting fluffy for the winter. And so he's growing up. His face is a little bit darker. He's a little bit smaller, and his face is a little bit darker than the other squirrels. We can tell who he is. And then he's the only one that gets up on the door like that until recently. Now all the other squirrels, I'll look out there, and it's like they're swarming. There'll be like 5 squirrels out on this little deck, more like a stoop that we have at the back door there. And, there have been times when I've opened the door to give, his name is Tito, to give Tito the nut, and another squirrel is on the ground there, and and they move so fast. Like, one almost got in like that, and it freaked me out. There was a time that Tito got in that same way, where I didn't know. I thought that he was out in the yard. I looked, and I opened the door, and he wasn't. He was down on the ground. I couldn't see him because he was like right at the door jamb. Anyway, that's another story. But this time, so then my whole thing with I have to distract the other squirrels so that we can feed Tito, because we enjoy feeding Tito, and Tito's feel like one of the family. So so there's the back door, and then next to the back door is the bathroom, and there's a window to the same backyard in that bathroom. So I had taking a few nuts, going to the bathroom, and throwing out some nuts in the yard, like loudly. The other squirrels will run after those nuts. Then I go back into the kitchen and then feed Tito, because the other squirrels are occupied. So I do that when the other squirrels are swarming and I don't feel safe opening the door. So today that was happening, and the squirrels were just like all up on the door, and I couldn't open the door because I was afraid, and they were down on the ground. I was afraid they'd come in. And every once in a while another squirrel would get on the door, which wasn't happening before. They're ruining the screen there. Tito wasn't so much, but this other squirrels are a little bigger. So anyway, so today I go to the bathroom just to throw some nuts out into the yard, and then so I can go back into the kitchen. I go into the bathroom. I open the window, and there's a window and a separate screen. I open the window. I crack the screen to throw nuts out, and Tito came at me and came through the window. And I screamed. My mother, who's laying back in her wheelchair in the other room, she's like, "You should have heard you screaming." And I said, "Damn right." I mean, it came. I'm here, right? And I'm opening the window because I'm right close to opening the window just so I can throw some nuts out. And then there's this, and he came at me from, so the railing to the porch is over here on the right. So he must have been on this railing. I'm worried about the other squirrels, right? But Tito, yes. They swarm. Yes, it was like those movies from like the 50s when they had like the giant animals coming. If they had been big, it was scary because they come, and like 4 or 5 squirrels right there. It's a little freaky. So that's why I go to the bathroom. Well, Tito, and first of all, at first I didn't know that it was Tito. So I'm like, oh my gosh, who is this squirrel jumping at me? So very close to my face, right? So the squirrel comes at me and comes through the window. Now, to be fair, Tito probably thought that he was jumping on the screen, just like he does on the back door every day. He was probably jumping on the screen. The problem was the screen wasn't there because the screen was up. So I don't know that he was actually trying to get inside. He was trying to jump on the screen like he always does. And he knows that I'm there because they'll come. He'll hear us. So it's in the kitchen. He'll hear us. And in the summertime when the door was open all the time, and it was just the screen, he could hear us come in. He could hear when we're in the kitchen. Now he probably can still hear us, but he also sees us. So there's movement in the kitchen. That's when he shows up. I don't often hear him come to the door when I'm not in the room, anyway. So Tito probably thought he was just coming to jump on another screen. He's jumped on that bathroom window before, but not very often, probably only 2 times. It's not what he does because there's no railing there really. So, and there's no tree right there or anything. So he was probably jumping on the thing, but it was open. And so he jumped in. So I'm holding the screen up to get ready to throw nuts out. He jumped right here, and I screamed and dropped the screen. And then Tito is on the wrong side of the stream. He is in the inside of the screen. And I'm freaking the frick out. And because I had dropped the screen because I screamed because he was coming after me. And I have been scratched by him before, and I still have a scar. It's not fun. And like I said, he's not usually aggressive. It's when my offspring, he likes her. And when he realizes it's not her, that's the time that he has scratched people. Or you mess with them or something. Anyway, so squirrels are cute, and they're cute from a distance, and you can have your favorite squirrels and feed them. But when they're in the house, that's a whole different vibe. Okay, so then Tito, and because I screamed and ran, I dropped the screen, and then he couldn't get out. And then he's in between. He's in the ledge to the window in the bathroom. Okay, in the house. So what I did was, after I got finished screaming, Mom says I screamed a lot. I only remember screaming once, but then I got what am I gonna do? And then I see him there, and I'm afraid that once he's in, now he was confused at first. He's used to being like this. He's always like this on the one on the outside. So he did that again, but he was just on the inside. I think he was confused because now he's looking outside when he's used to be looking inside. He was confused for a minute, so he kind of froze. And then I was like, if he realizes he's in the house, he's going to get down. And I had nuts in my hand. I had dropped those in the sink. But so he was frozen for a minute, but I didn't want to get close to him because I didn't want him to come at me. But I had to. So then I go and I kind of quickly grab and put the actual window down. So now he's trapped between the window and the screen. So, but there's enough space, and he wasn't hurt. The window and the screen, nothing hit him, but he's trapped. And there's room for him to move, but he's still trapped between the two windows. And then I'm freaking out because like, how am I going to get him out? Right? So I call my offspring and I'm like, get over here right now. And she was like, oh, I was just going to call and check on Tito. And I'm like, get over here now. And that person, she has the most evil laugh. And she's like, it's like, it's not funny. With the attacking squirrel, I don't know. I could write it now, I think. Yes. So anyway, so the squirrel comes. The squirrel is there, and I'm waiting. I close the bathroom door because then I'm thinking, what if he can get through? Now, there was like I have a picture. There was like this much. There's no way he could have gotten through, but I'm not chancing it because I don't know. I don't know what these squirrels can do when they're upset. So I just closed the bathroom door because at least then if somehow he got through the window, he wouldn't have run at the house, right? And then I'm waiting for her to show up. And he's in there. And then he starts making noise. And then I felt bad because I don't want to upset him, but he was making that distress sound. You know, squirrels make noise. It's like they're barking and like kind of whining. And again, he was not hurt. Nothing hit him. He was just upset because now he's trapped, right? So he's making the crazy noises. And then I go around to the kitchen and I look outside and the other squirrels that had been rushing the door anyway, they're up on the porch again. And they're like, I see the one that's on the railing and they can now see that Tito is on the other side of the window, on the other side of the screen. So instead of being on the outside of the screen like this, now he's on the inside of the screen. And I see this other squirrel get on the ledge and go, huh. Like anything how they do with the leg. He's like, huh. He's like, looked and looked. And then another squirrel came out and they looked and looked. And then after a few minutes, they all disappeared because they probably had a meeting. And like, I don't know what's going on there, but they're trapping us. We got to get out of here. So, and I had to listen to him in there. I wouldn't go in there. But actually first I panicked. You know, when you panic about something, you can't remember things. I was like, where the hell is my phone? I didn't know where my phone was in order to call the offspring. So, and then I got freaked out. I was like, did I leave it in the bathroom? I don't want to have to go back in there. So I get my mom's phone to call my phone. And anyway, so I finally got her, waiting for her to come over, listening to the squirrel make weird noises. And she comes over with her evil, that's an evil laugh that she has. And she just thinks this is the funniest thing. Squirrel. Okay, so that's the squirrel caught between the two windows, between the screen and, and there's that line from Sex and the City when she says, you can't be friends with a squirrel. Squirrel's just a rat with a cuter outfit. He looks very rat-like there because you can't see his tail. And look how big. We're cool because he's free. We don't keep him in the house, at least not on purpose. And so, so she comes and I admit I was freaked out. It's different when they're in the house. And so she's in there and she's trying to figure out how to get him out. So she opened the window because she's like, I'm going to have to open the window. I was afraid he was going to come in. And he did because he likes her. That's his mother. He thinks that's his mother. So he came in and he she came in, she went in with her nuts and he came and got a nut. And then he was sitting in that ledge there eating a nut like it was a normal thing in the world to do. So he sat there and he had a couple of nuts. He got on her and had a couple of nuts, but then she opened the window so that he could leave, and he would not leave. And at one point, another squirrel came and started to rush it a little bit. It must have gotten on that railing, and that scared Tito. And she had propped the screen open to try to get him out, but then Tito, it knocked it or something, and it fell, and it hit him a little bit, like it fell on his hands, feet, whatever you call those, a little bit. So Offspring's all upset because she thought she hurt him because he made that crying noise, and he was like this for a minute, but then he was fine. But then he was scared of the window, and he didn't leave. He wouldn't leave. She propped it open again, wouldn't leave. And I'm scared of her propping it open because of those other squirrels who now attack, right? I mean, they don't attack, but they swarm. And if they're saying, oh, there's food in the bathroom, let's go in the bathroom, like I can't have that. So the squirrel, so she's in there with the squirrel, and the squirrel got spooked at one time. And it's normal for her when she visits a squirrel to be able to stand there and like she'll hold her hands out like this, and she'll put nuts in her hand, and Tito will go get a nut and then go like sit here and have his nut. Sometimes he'll get on her shoulder and have his nut, and and then come back for another one. That's a normal thing, but not in the house. So anyway, so then at one point, I rarely show pictures of my offspring, although this one has been on stream before. So he got a little spooked in there because of the other squirrels got near the window, and then we have this. That's one of my offspring, and look at her head. I was gonna blur her face, but her face is so funny. This is my mother's bathroom. There's a squirrel on her head, and he's just having a nut. Anyway, so she had to walk him through the house out the back door to get him out because he would not go. He wouldn't go out the way he came in, and I skedaddled. I just didn't. I actually went in the room with my mom. And meanwhile, mom knows what's going on because she hears me screaming, but I was distraught. So she's like, Joanne! I'm like, Mom, I can't talk to you right now. I have a situation. Because it was going to freak her out anyway. And he gets along with the other squirrels. He's up in the trees with them, and wherever they go and whatever they do at night, we think they go to a rave or something. So he's holding his own. And there's been times when he hasn't come for a day or two, not much longer than that. So I think he knows how to get his own food. But when someone's feeding you, take that too. Yeah, so Tito's a tough one. And I'm a little traumatized. I see him in there when I go in the bathroom. I see him. I can't get that vision out of my mind. And it was just a horrible feeling to feel. It's that rustle of fur coming at you. You know what I mean? It was. Anyway, I'm gonna skedaddle. I'll let you guys know tomorrow if everything's better.